Hi Upasna, how are you doing?
Hi Kriti, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So, what's happening? What's going around?
Uh, Nothing much. It's going pretty chill. The week just ended. Office has always been a bit hectic, so I'm always feeling a bit better during the weekends.
So,
Most
let me
welcome.
begin with an introduction of you. Upasna Ghosh is an IG business coach who helps coaches and online service providers attract clients with step by step strategies. She's working full time as an associate consultant at eBay and at the same time running her own business around Instagram coaching. She, with her one on one coaching calls, helps people to revolutionize their Instagram game to the next level. She helps people to gain a clarity on their content strategy, target audience, creating content that solves real life problems, and landing clients in the DMs and making one as an expert in one's field in order to monetize Instagram. So, if you're a service provider looking forward to start your content journey on Instagram, Upasna is just the right person for you. Reach out to her now, and I will drop all the related details in the description below. A warm welcome to you, Upasna, on Journey Teachers.
Thank you, Kriti. Okay, can I just say that that introduction was so awesome? Like you made everything sound so good. I don't think I could have explained it better.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the first question for you is basically what is content strategy and what's the need for it?
Right. Okay. So just strategy by definition, I think can be defined as a plan of action to reach some sort of goal or aim. So when I talk about content strategy, particularly on Instagram and from a business perspective, it would be how do you utilize that content strategy for solving your business problems. So I'll take an example like if I'm talking about a service based business, a solopreneur who is trying to get clients for their business on Instagram can be utilized as a marketing platform which runs on content. So, how do you communicate what value you can provide to get those clients on Instagram? Now, that entire process can be done through content and strategizing your content in such a manner so that that goal is obtained. That process is what I would define as a content strategy.
And what is the need for the same?
Yeah, the need for the same would be again like Instagram can be treated as a very efficient marketing platform. And if you are trying to gain results for your business without a proper content strategy, you are aimlessly doing tasks without a particular end goal. And while there's no problem in treating Instagram as a personal hobby or a personal platform, but if from a business perspective, like if you're really trying to get some sort of result from it, the best thing would be strategizing it because you know what you're doing, you know whether it's working or not. And if something is not working, you go back and you change it, you tweak it. So something that can be measured can be improved. And when there's a strategy in place, you know why you're doing something, you know you're producing content with purpose, you know who you're trying to reach, you are moving forward in some sort of manner. You're not just blindly throwing darts in one place and you're wishing for things to happen. So yeah, I think it's efficient. It makes up for a plan, and you're actually going towards a particular goal without confusion, without randomly producing content and then thinking, why is nothing working out for me?
Absolutely, that's true. So, what is the general formula for anyone to attract clients?
Okay. Uh, Honestly, I feel like there can be a lot of formula for attracting clients, but I'll talk about mine specifically. Again, like business itself is kind of a transaction of value. And if you're trying to get clients, then you have to communicate how much value you can provide for those clients. So I'll take up an example. If I'm talking about a social media manager, right? A social media manager who takes care of social media, optimizes it, gets results for their businesses and everything, would have to actually communicate the same to their clients, that they have the skill sets, they have the necessary value that they can provide to their businesses so that they approach them. Now, how do you do that? You do that through content, you do that through your own social media, and getting clients is kind of the same thing. You have to communicate the value that you provide. You have to communicate how you can help your clients' businesses, how you can solve their problems. So it's not so much as selling, but rather it's a problem solving. It's a process of problem solving. And getting clients is the same thing. Once your clients understand that you are here to solve a problem for them, to solve a problem for the business, that you understand what they're trying to do, that's how you get those clients. Did
Obviously,
that
when
answer
our
your question?
clients, yes, absolutely. When our clients resonates with you and they
Hmm.
look that you are solving their problems, they will definitely come to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's it.
Okay. Does attracting clients work only in the DMs? Else, where can all the client queries come from?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think like everything has to go through DMs. For example, if I take up Instagram again, if you put a link in the in your bio, then if you have a sales page over there, people can join in to work with you from the sales page. Or suppose you have a calendar link for discovery calls, then people can also opt for those links. But DMs, I personally specialize a lot in DMs because I feel DMs is the place where you can really nurture your prospects and you can really feel that if you're the right fit to help them, if they're the right fit for you to work with. And so, for example, if your content is really kicking ass on your feed and people feel that, okay, I want to work with this person, and you put up a CTA for work, for, bringing them into your DMs, they can straight away go from your feed to your DMs. That's one way. Again, if you can identify your leads from your stories, you can also do that. Then you can bring in those leads into your DMs. But these are just ways. You can also do the same by putting up links in your bio from where they can work with you, whether it's a sales page, whether it's your website, even, or whether it's a discovery call. Like there are so many ways they can get in touch with you. But DMs is the place where I feel you get to relate the most important connection. You get to connect with them in the most in the deepest level and really understand what they're looking for. So that's kind of why I really stress about the DMs.
Okay, okay, got it. So tell us something about your EY journey, how you got started there, and how is it going well for you along, and how did you crack and got to work in a big firm like this?
Okay. Okay. That's a question that no one's asked me on Instagram till now. So thank you for bringing that up. Um, Honestly, like I went to Delhi University to get my master's in statistics, and EY came for campus placement over there. So it was the usual, I mean, clearing the rounds, sitting for the interview, and then getting selected. It wasn't an off campus placement. So there was that thing. EY was the first company to visit a campus, and I sat for that. We had, I think, two rounds, and then two clearance rounds, two written examinations, then two one HR round, one interview round, and yeah, like that, it just happened. And the journey with EY has been challenging, but very rewarding. And because I joined as a fresher, I mean, this was my first job. This is my first job. So I got to learn a lot of things. And no matter how prepared you are in your master's or in your college, what you actually get to experience while in your first job, that is a completely different experience. And I got to learn a lot. So, and I also got to learn a lot that I apply in my business, in my life currently. Since I am kind of, handling my side hustle with my full-time work, so I had to really build up a lot of systems so that I can handle both, I can manage both without getting burning out. And I kind of got to this point a little later, but my experience with EY, for example, how to create systemized processes, how to create trackers, how to understand your data, which also came because I am coming from a statistics background. So how to reverse engineer those goals, how to really track your data so that you know what is happening and where things are coming from. So I got to learn a lot of that. And of course, like since I am working on our data science engagement, so there's also like I'm getting to learn a lot of new skills. So the journey has been pretty rewarding. Yeah.
That I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you so much.
Okay. So how do creators and service providers or anyone actually identify one's target audience and What are the essentials in the same?
Okay, yeah. I think most of us know kind of the services that we want to provide, but we get stuck in finding out the target audience, right? And I feel if you backtrack your way, so if ABC are the services that you want to provide, then kind of find out who are the people who will want to hire you for those services. So again, I'll give an example. If it's a social media manager who optimizes social media, who does the engagement, the content strategy, the content creation, and everything, think about who will hire you for these services. That will be businesses who wants an online presence, right? And then what kind of businesses? Are those like big brands? Are those product based businesses, service based? So really just backtrack your way. If you have these services, who will hire you for those services? And from there, you kind of really find that market, like who do you really connect with? Who do you want to work with? Where do you feel like your skills really make a contribution? I think that's one way to really deep down and figure out who is your target audience. Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, how regularly should engaging with the audience happen, and how does one convince the audience to realize their value and invest in them?
Okay. For the first question, I feel the engagement with audience should happen every single day because it's a two-way process. You cannot just expect your audience to come to you with their problems or to invest in you without you making any effort for them. So I believe that engaging with your audience, getting to know them, getting to understand them, it should happen on a regular basis. But by that, I also don't mean that you have to spend hours upon hours on the app. Definitely not that. And coming to the next question, I think communicating the value that you provide and for making them invest in you, mm, approach it from a problem solving perspective. So, what are the problems that your audience is facing? And it can be something like they don't know how to do market research, or they don't know what apps to get started off with for content creation. Because there's so much information, it's very easy to get confused, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So if you
Exactly.
know that you're right, I mean, I know I was in that very exact same spot. So I think just understanding what are the very real challenges that your audience is facing with and solving it for them, or communicating that I was exactly facing these problems and then I was able to overcome it, and this is how I did it. So they know that you're not just coming up with empty words, they know that you already have those results, you know what you're talking about, and it's just you're solving a problem for them. And when you communicate the value of solving that problem, that's when they come to you because they want your assistance, your one-on-one support. Like I said, because information is, I mean, available everywhere, people don't really invest in coaching or invest in services for information. They invest in them because of the service, because they want them to help them overcome something, because they want them to move forward a particular journey. So yeah, I think that's pretty much how you are able to do it, and of course with consistency and showing up for your audience over and over.
Exactly. People nowadays want customized help for themselves because that
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
only thing which is not available.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's more like having access to that one person you can just go to and just talk about your personalized problems, and them giving you those specific answers which is not tailored to a general public. That is something that people really seek out for always.
Yeah, that's true. So, where are the clients hanging out and how do we make them actually land in our DMs?
Okay, okay, that's a really nice question. Where are my clients hanging out? I think the easiest way to identify this would be go to your competitors profile. Where are your competitors hanging out? If your competitors are getting some results, if they're working with clients, then wherever they are, your future clients are probably over there too. And so just engaging with them, building a rapport with your I won't say also competitors, peers rather. It's also important to have your peers, having a community, just building that network with them, having that connection with them. That's a way that you can understand what is already working in the market. What are your clients already looking for, or what do your clients already resonate with, and taking inspiration from that, understanding that, and then creating content in that manner, showing up in that manner. But also understanding that we are not just here because like we as solopreneurs, we also become a personal brand. So what are your values that you feel you really stand for? What are the values that you feel that you connect with, uh, on a to your audience? So also, showing up in that authentic manner, creating content that really showcases your experience, your skill sets, and networking in general. I think networking in any way, offline or online, is something that is very, very important if you want to build a career. It really helps you connect with a lot of people, it helps you learn a lot of things, it helps you create a big whole community for yourself.
Exactly. Networking is like really important in any field, I would say.
Yep, definitely, in any field it's very important.
Yes. So tell us more about the inbound inquiries and the things related with it.
Okay, so when I talk about inbound inquiries, I mean your prospective clients, or your someone in your target audience who reaches out to you in your DMs and sends you a message like, "Hey Upasana, I'm really interested in your services. Can you tell me more about your packages or your prices?" Messages like these, and I think it becomes very helpful and convenient when people are reaching out to you instead of you having to go out and pitch to people. Now, I'm not saying that outbound doesn't work. Definitely, it does work. But inbound also, in a way, like if your profile is optimized in a manner that people are readily pitching for working for you, working with you in your DMs, then you get to choose: should I work with this person or should I not? Is this person the right fit for me or not? Uh, do I want to work with this person, or increasing your prices even, so that you can increase the quality of your work? So it really gives you that leverage when people are reaching out to you in your DMs. And sorry, what was the next question?
Like it was the things related with it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I mean in terms of inbound inquiries. But of course, like, you don't always have to wait for people to reach out to you. It's just a great, it's a very convenient thing to have. But also from your stories, you can identify leads. And this is where also you need to work on your lead generation on a consistent basis. You can use your stories to identify the leads who are really engaging with you, who are really engaging with your content and resonate with it. You can identify from your feed itself that these are the people who really comment on my feed content, who really resonate with it. Or from your competitors page even, or from your peers, like who are these people who can be good leads for me. So it just, again, building a network of them so that they come inside your community, so that they get to see the content that you're putting out, so that they get to be nurtured from that content and understand what you're providing. And then building a genuine relation first in your DMs. And it's a kind of a process. It happens on its own when people reach out to you on their own. I mean, it's happened to me, like people I haven't even talked to even once, they reached out to me in my DMs and asking me for my services. It's also kind of how I got my first two clients. um
Pretty exciting.
uh, yeah, like I did not have any services back then. Like I was just putting out content, and these two people back to back on 2 days asked me about my services, and I just made up two offers based on their demand and what they wanted. So that's kind of how I got to know that okay, this really works. You can really get clients on Instagram, and people are always watching. This is something that really helps to remember. Even if someone is not engaging with you on a regular basis, there are people watching. And when they are ready, when they feel like you are the person they want to work with, they will reach out to you. So yeah, it can be a
Yeah,
pretty amazing way.
yeah, that really answers the question. Okay, so now the most asked question, which I'm going to ask you as well. Upasna, please tell us tips on time management. How do you manage your job with the side hustle? And how do you basically establish that mental peace and not burnout, especially when you were a one man army previously?
Yeah, I think this would also be a question that I have been asked about so many times in my DMs itself. And I really understand it, because I was there at that point up until a few months ago where I would really work hard 1 month and the next month I would just have to take time off and rejuvenate. So I think I think it's more about maintaining a plan and maintaining a habit. So on the weekends, what I do is whatever that I have to do during the weekdays, I try to really plan it out. What are my major tasks that I need to get done with during the weekdays? I plan it out on the weekends, and I also like assign particular days for those each of those tasks. So if I have like 5 major tasks that I need to get done with, then on Monday I'm going to do task 1, on Tuesday it will be task 2, and so on. So it also it also helps when you're really not confused that I'm going to do everything, because you cannot do everything. And I think that's the first thing that we all need to accept, that since we are managing both things, you cannot compare your journey with someone who is just trying to build a business, who is just working with clients, who is just completely focused on this, on their main hustle, that is, because you're doing both. So not comparing yourself with others, really focusing on the task that get those results for you. I don't do a lot of things like planning out my feed in advance. I used to do that. I stopped doing it because I didn't need to. Or like maintaining the perfect feed, grid layout, or like posting every single day. So it's really about understanding what you're comfortable with, planning it out in advance when you have a major time for it during the weekends. If it's I always talk about batch creating content because it really helps when majority of that task is done on the weekends. That's also something that I do. Then engaging, like fix some particular time. Are you going to engage in the morning, in the evening, or at night, or when? Or like what's the most important task, what's the most important revenue generating task for you right now? Is it lead generation, is it content creation? So really kind of figuring those things out, what is important for you that you're comfortable with, and just planning it out accordingly, and just assigning particular days or particular time so that you don't get distracted or you don't spend time in confusion coming up with a plan and rather just doing it. So yeah, I think that would be my most like important tip. It doesn't look the same for everyone, but just having a clear plan in advance, that helps a lot.
Absolutely, it helps, and that is really, I appreciate these values and these points you have given. So, how to establish that authority that we do not have to reach out to clients and they come by themselves?
Yeah, I think in any manner, like I won't talk about others who do cold emailing and all that stuff, but I personally don't resonate when others reach out to me on their own and they ask readily for and then they ask readily whether they can do some sort of service for me, because I don't know them. I haven't even built a connection with them and they're doing it. So I don't really resonate with it. And so I don't focus on it. And rather instead, when you identify someone as a potential lead for yourself, get to know that person. Just understanding their journey and building a genuine connection with them, getting to know them, their journey, when they have started, how they're doing, and just forming a relation. And then the content that you put up, the content that's going on your stories, if it's strategic in a manner that it calls out those leads who are looking for the services that you offer, you can pinpoint from there, okay, this is one person whom I can help. And from there you get them into your DMs, and then maybe you can either they will reach out to you. If you're readily selling that, reach out for these services, DM me for them, they will reach out to you. Or you can also get them on a call, ask them what they're struggling with. And then if they genuinely are looking for solutions, then you can ask them, then you can invite them. It's not even about selling or pitching, it's about inviting them for your services. and just to understand whether you can help them, whether they want your help. So I think I don't really like the whole hard selling and that manner. It's rather I am more comfortable with, and I think it also helps in building genuine connection when you're not just selling, but you're just building connections and understanding and getting to know other people. And if they feel like they can benefit from your services, they say yes. If you feel like they are not the right person, then you don't have to do anything. It's a win-win situation. But you're building connections and your community is growing.
Exactly. You don't have to be salesy all the time, but you can solve people's problem and build genuine connections, as you said.
Yeah. You don't have to be salesy. You can look at it like solving an actual problem with your services. And then that thought also vanishes from your mind that you are selling to people. You're not selling to people. You're trying to help someone overcome their problems. So there's a perspective shift, and I think that's very important too.
Absolutely. So, how do you help in making sure that people will actually trust and when they come in our DMs, they actually stay with us and further work along?
Okay. Okay. How would you build that trust? That's a nice question. I think when it comes to trust, it really helps when you have social proof for that matter. If you have social proof to offer, and that readily tells the other person that you have already worked with other clients before and you have gotten them results. Or even if you don't have clients, if you're a first time, you're trying to land your first client, what are the results that you have achieved for yourself? So show your transformation, show that your method works. Or if you have knowledge of something, if you are practically implementing it, you're in the process of implementing it, but you have the knowledge of something, then talk about the knowledge itself, talk about the problems and document your journey. So it's a bit about transparency and just showing what you're doing, rather than telling, just showing that you are doing these things, or that you have already achieved those results for other people, and just repeated communication of the same thing. I think this is one thing that people forget. You talk about what you do just once, twice, thrice, and then you feel like no one is engaging with you, and so then you give up. But as humans, like, because there's again so much information and our attention span is really bad, we need to hear something over and over for it to really make a difference in our minds, and for us to really remember what that person is talking about. So just keep on talking about what is it that you do, how have you helped others, what are the results that you've already gotten, or what are the results that you have gotten for yourself. That helps to build that trust.
Yeah, exactly. So, you want to tell us more about your coaching programs and what do you offer? What are your services?
Yeah, sure. So honestly, like, I started off with just content strategy sessions. I did not have any program as such then, and then I did a few bit of short term coaching sessions with content strategy sessions. So I was really just experiencing and trying to figure out what more can I do. And then over this past few months, after working with clients and also investing in me and leveling up quality of my services, right now I'm building out that one-on-one coaching program. And this is something that I haven't readily spoken out on my stories or anything, but it's kind of like happening behind the scenes, that I'm talking to other people, my target audience, other prospective clients, because I'm building out this offer. And since this will be the first batch, I'm taking in that beta clients. And also, like, I'm at that point in stage where I'm not really looking forward to work with a lot of people, but like very few people I can really help and really make a difference to in their lives. So I'm currently building out that my one-on-one coaching program, and I'm taking in clients, talking to my prospective clients, and how we can work together. And yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. Thank you for asking me that.
Exactly. So, I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So, why do you think making strategy is important for Instagram and why will random posting will not work here?
Okay, I'll give an example. Think about, like, if I am okay, I'll take up a social media manager. It's what keeps popping in my head. If I'm a social media manager and I'm looking for clients, and a few days I post about how I can help my clients, and a few days I just post about my personal stories, how I went out with my friends and all of them. Then prospective clients, they will come and they will look at my page and they will say that, okay, this person cannot even manage their own social media. So why should I offer her a job? So it's kind of like that. If you are looking for clients on Instagram, and if your own page is not consistent with your brand and with the values that you stand for, the your prospective clients, they will land on your page and they will lose interest. They will not understand what you do. And that is why I think it's very important at this day and age, like especially right now when random posting does not work that much, also with people's attention span and with so many people jumping into the social media marketing community, it's very important for you to stand out with your voice, with your content, with how you show up. And so having a strategy in place, having a plan in place, having a purpose with each and every content, that makes it easier. Even if you don't post every single day or even 5 days a week, the times you do post, they're aligned to your purpose. They were posted because you were trying to make a point. So even if 10 people from your target audience lands on your page, when they look at that content, they resonate with it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
your job
that's
is done.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, how to effectively monetize Instagram and what are the ways for the same?
How to effectively monetize. I think the first step to monetization would be building an audience and then finding out what can you offer to your audience. It can be any kind of service, product, courses, anything. If you have an audience, if you have built a connection with your audience, what can you offer to your audience that they will readily jump for? And it's kind of it can work in two ways. One is kind of what happens with influencers. They already have an audience and then they monetize it. Or with businesses, they have a service and then they build an audience for that service. So but it all relates back to building an audience, building a community who relates to you, who understand your values, who understand what you show up for, and who are interested in what you're talking about, in the services that you offer, in the knowledge that you're sharing with your community. Once that happens, it can you can offer one-on-one services, you can offer courses, you can offer, I mean, there are so many ways. Like there are so many ways for monetizing your audience on social media platforms. There's not just one way, but it's really about understanding what your audience is looking for and what are you going to offer to them, and communicating the value that you can offer to them, which is why they will invest in you, otherwise they won't. i
All
just i
right.
actually read I actually read this one thing today. Why people buy your services? It's not because how good your product is, it's because how good they believe your product is. So I think that's where the marketing comes in.
Absolutely. You have to, the way you show them that this is the product and how they believe that actually this is the value. So, that really depends
Yes.
and that really matters.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, what are the certain things in terms of content creation that you focus on more and others that take less of your attention?
Okay. um I would say, first of all, since designs, I used to focus a lot on designs before that. The particular designs have to be this, my feed, my color layout, whether my feed has a particular, feed layout, whether it's a checkerboard, all that stuff. But now I don't. Like, I have my brand colors in place, and I'm not saying that they're going to remain the same in future, but right now they are that, and I'm not too focused on getting it perfect. And it's the same thing with content creation. Don't focus on being a perfectionist. If there's an idea in your head, just execute it and then put that content out. I think most of the times we get stuck up in a place where we are like, okay, there are so many people, I need to make this perfect and this has to be at a certain level. And that's one of the things that really held me back when I was starting out. but it's only through experience, only by doing it more and more, that you achieve that level of clarity where you understand what truly matters, because feed layout doesn't matter that much. Of course, I will say that since Instagram is a visual platform, your visual branding does matter, but as long as it's not repelling someone, like very bright colors that would blind someone, or like very dull muted colors or things like that, as long as it's presentable, and I think it gets the job done. Rather focus on what are you saying in your content, how can you make it easily digestible, because people have short attention span, and that's where infographics come in. I focus a lot on infographics now. It's also something that I learned from my corporate job, because we make a lot of ppts in consulting. And so this is also something that I was told in my job. Less text on presentations, more about how do you make someone understand what you're trying to say. And so that what comes in. How do you express what you're trying to say? Through visual representations, through infographics, or through carousels even. It just has to be digestible, and how quickly you can get your point across to the other person, rather than making it perfect. No one cares if it's perfect, but rather how easily they can understand what you're trying to convey. So that would be my biggest tip to anyone who is dealing with content creation and just getting stuck and feeling like they don't know what to do. Just get started with it.
Absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
And plus, there are so many templates online. I mean, Canva is full of free templates. You can just get started off with. You don't have to design anything. Just pick up colors and get started.
Yeah. True. So, what should one actually do when one is running out of content ideas?
Hmm. Um, I there are honestly so many apps and websites where you can go for content ideas, but I think the best place to get inspired about new content ideas would be going back to your customer's journey. Going back to understanding who your customer is, the journey that they are on, the various points where they experience some kind of blockages, and how do your services solve those blockages? How do you link those problems with your services as a solution to those problems? That's where the content comes out from. That's where content really makes a difference to your target audience, and they really understand the value of what you're trying to do. And otherwise also, you can always visit your peers profile, you can always visit your competitors page to find out what they are talking about, to understand more of what other people are getting resonated with. It's a mix of, I think, analyzing what your competitors are doing, and also just doing a bit of market research and understanding more in depth about your target audience. Because usually what happens when you have a clear grasp on who your target audience is, you won't have to run out of content ideas, because you know the exact points where they're getting stuck. But of course, right, doing more market research, more competitor analysis, just seeing what is working in the market, or just, if nothing works, just take some time off. Maybe it's that you have gone into a spiral of consumption and you are just not able to focus. Take some time off and it will come back to you. Or else there are so many like websites. I think there's BuzzSumo, there's Answer the Public, Coda is a great place. Facebook groups is a great place because people are asking for solutions. YouTube can also be a great place. Niche blogs, that's also a great place. So there's like ton of information online. It's just understanding what is right for your audience.
Absolutely. Researching and taking inspiration really helps.
That really does.
Yeah. So, don't you feel that Instagram, along with all its algorithms, are so diverse and like it's so uncertain and it always keeps changing? So, why would anyone trust and get started on it, taking risk with their careers?
I think, yeah, like Instagram keeps on changing. That is true, but I feel it's not really taking a risk on your career. Like if this is something that you really enjoy, content creation itself, it's a creative journey that I think really appeals to a lot of people, because it's just turning your ideas into something that you can see in front of you. And making someone understand about your skill sets and the value you provide. So treat I think the point is like treating any social media platform as a marketing platform. The concept remains the same. The algorithm might change, but the concept remains the same. What appeals to your target audience? Focusing on that. What are the features that you can readily use to increase your visibility to a great extent on a particular social media platform? So, for example, for Instagram, currently it would be Reels, because Reels are giving a huge reach. So, creating content using Reels that can appeal to your target audience, that is a way to get started with content creation and building your audience. And it's not really, I don't think it's a okay, even if it can be a risk, like having your presence on multiple social media platforms or building an email list so that you know who are the people in your audience, that helps to like keep it safe. Even if your account gets blocked or something like that happens, you know that okay, these are the people that I can reach out to still through my emails. No one can take away my email ID, that's mine completely.
Yeah, all right. Also, with the coming of reels, the importance to the post and maybe has reduced to some extent.
uh I think it's not that the importance of post has reduced, but I think the reach has reduced. Like with reels you can reach so many people because Instagram is pushing it out to compete with TikTok. But for post it's not the case. Even if you make a very valuable post, if it can reach to 50 people and maybe it connects to them, that's great. But then the others, it's not reaching to anyone else. So if you focus on both with reels and post, then reels will give you a lot of reach, and even the people who are not in your target audience, it will land up on their page. But then if they come to your page and they see your feed post, which has a lot of value, then that can build that know, like, and trust factor, that okay, I'm interested in what this person is talking about and I'm going to hang out on their page. So I think a combination of both really helps.
Yeah, answered very well. So, how can one stand out if she wants to start an Instagram business?
How can one stand out? Yeah, I think when it comes to standing out, niching down is a great way to do that. Because niching down, and when I say niching down, I mean like you get very specific about the kind of problem that you're solving. You don't say vague words, or you don't communicate in a vague manner like everyone else, and you talk very specifically to your target audience. So you make a memorable presence, and when people see your content, when people see you, they know that okay, this person is talking about this. When I think of this particular problem, I'm going to go to this person. And that's how you can really stand out, by niching down and picking a very specific problem. It doesn't have to be like way specific, something that people are still looking for, a transformation or a problem that people are genuinely wanting to solve. But only focusing on that one problem, it helps you get better in the services that you offer. It helps you connect to your audience in a much deeper level and get specific to the problems that they're facing. And you make a memorable presence, because your content, everything is about that. You're not talking about 10 different things, you're talking about one thing, and you're talking about it better than anyone else.
Absolutely, niching out is really crucial, and the micro niche and specific to that niche is really important. But what about the beginners if they want to experiment and play around?
Yeah, for beginners, I think if you don't want to niche down in the beginning, it's completely fine. Like, keep it a bit broad and rather work with people. Instead of waiting to niche down, rather take up a client from one specific niche, take up a client from another specific niche, maybe on beta version, maybe on trial prices, um, since you're a beginner. But then really working with them will help you understand if you're interested in that. And it's a win-win situation, because at the end of it, either you find out that you're interested in working with that person, which is great. And even if you find that you're not interested in working with that person, you can get a testimonial out of the services that you have already provided. So in the beginning, like, pick up a target audience rather than a niche. Are you focusing on service-based businesses, or is it product-based businesses? And then trying to think about, or it's like brands, entrepreneurs in general, or you haven't even figured out what kind of business. Just figuring out what is the service that you want to provide. Is it social media management? Great. Just pick up one person from a niche, one from service based, one from product based, one coach or freelancer, and start working with them and understand who do you really like to work with, and then niche down later on. And of course, like with
Yeah,
time, I think even if you niche down, you can expand your niche, like as you keep on growing, because you have already understood the problems that your niche is currently facing, and so you can help people in other ways too.
absolutely. So, how did your journey of coaching really started, and why did you choose coaching instead of being a service provider or being a freelancer simply?
uh Honestly, like I did not have it was a instant conclusion, I think. So I got to know about this social media marketing, businesses, coaching, and everything last year around October, right around the time that I joined my first job. It was around then that I landed up on this YouTube video, and I just got to know about this entirely new world. And then I joined a course because, of course, like I was just starting out, I did not know anything about it, and I joined a course. And from there, I got to know about, okay, so there are so many things that you can do. And my first thought was, I don't want to work for someone. And that was when I realized that I don't want to be a social media manager or a virtual assistant or a service provider in that way. I mean, I didn't want to be a freelancer looking for clients in that manner, that I will have to take on someone's work and do that. Because one, I did not have the bandwidth with my job. Like I was working 12-hour days on an average. I did not have the bandwidth to take care of someone else's social media when I was struggling with mine at that point in time. And so I knew that I could not do that. And rather, I was just fascinated with coaching and, just helping others, solving their problems with strategizing and all of that. It was just an inclination. Of course, I wasn't sure of that, but I just knew that I couldn't give my 100% if I took up someone else's social media to someone else's business or like that. And I knew that, okay, coaching can be something that I can start, but what do I coach about? I know nothing. So I just started learning about Instagram. So that was my base zero, just learning about Instagram and how Instagram works. Then, from there, that came about content. And then when I was really hitting a point with my content where people resonated with it, I started to get these inquiries that, can you help me with it? And so I thought, okay, great. If I can help this person, I'll understand more about what else can I do. And from there also, I started with my content strategy session and my short-term coaching sessions. And yeah, it's kind of just grown from there.
All right. So, how did you really? Just a minute.
Sure, sure.
Okay. So, how did you really invested, or are you gained knowledge to upskill yourself from the availability of free resources?
I invested in my first course last year, around the end of that year, and then I did not invest in anyone else till like end of March 2021. And I only invested in another person in one-on-one coaching at that point in time because I was really overwhelmed and very burnt out at that point that I couldn't uh, continue this myself. And what I really understood was that I really benefited from one-on-one coaching. And once I understood the value of one-on-one coaching and the results that I could get, after that I kept on investing in myself, in coaching, in courses, and just learning more and more. And because I really believed, instead of spending my time in figuring out how things work, if someone has already figured it out, I would rather learn from them. And the value that you get from having access to someone or who is already achieving the results that you want to achieve, I think that is immense. So I really believe in upskilling yourself. And also, since right now I want to be in that position where I get to choose the kind of clients that I work with. And even for my like beta coaching, I don't have a lot of spots. I have only very few limited spots, but I know that I want to provide my I want to provide quality service. I want to work with people who are really, passionate about what they're trying to do, and I can help them get there. So I think investing in myself really got me to this point. Upscaling myself, increasing the quality of what I do, and gaining more knowledge.
Absolutely, it really helps and it is really important. So, tell us something about batch creating content and how to go about it.
Batch creating content. Okay. I think first of all, batch creating content can be a very, very helpful thing. So the first step would always be jotting down your ideas for content. What are the various content topics that you can make? Then the next step would be uh, creating the designs. If it's a feed post, then just creating the designs all, or having some particular templates so that you're not creating designs for each content topic from scratch. And then if it's for reels, just taking up a particular time slot and just shooting all the reels. And then afterwards, then just writing down the captions for everything, then the hashtags, and if you want to schedule, then schedule it, or just posting it. The main idea behind this concept is just anything that you have to do repeatedly, just get it done in a particular time frame, and that just helps you get done with all the tasks together.
Yeah, absolutely. And what kinds of apps do you use for the same?
Canva, just Canva and Instagram. And if I have to schedule, then I do it using Facebook Creator Studio. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, these are very basic and really helpful.
Yeah, I don't think you need much more in it, much more than this.
Yeah. So, how to continuously motivate oneself in order to be consistent in terms of getting out there and just starting out.
Okay, motivation. I think just keeping in mind why you started this journey, like what's your bigger purpose? What are you trying to achieve uh, through this journey of yours? Because motivation, like motivational words on its own, cannot really push you to do the hard work. But your reason, your deeper reason of why you started out this journey, why you're on this journey and doing this work, that is what will keep you moving even when things get tough, because things do get tough. So I think that's kind of what I do too. I don't believe in this, one day you're going to listen to, of course, like motivational podcast and all of that help, but it's not going to keep you running when things get tough. It's just determination and discipline. So just having your purpose in mind, that's it.
Absolutely. Knowing your why and be self motivated and getting started out there consistently.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we also, I would like you to share some tips for aspiring or beginner service providers to establish themselves on Instagram who aren't able to start or even resume.
Okay. For beginner freelancers, people who are just trying to start out, my most important tip would be just go ahead and start creating content. The content that you think will resonate with your audience, the content that you are passionate about, you want to share the value, the knowledge that you want to share with others. Just start off creating content and start networking. That's the most important lesson that I can give to anyone, and that's the lesson that I took to my heart and I really implemented. Creating content and just taking that step, that's how you keep on making the next step and the next and the next, and you keep on moving towards your goal.
Obviously, taking baby steps and improvising each and every day will take you like
Yeah.
next close to your goal.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, lastly, what are your thoughts on one's passion can be one's profession?
Oh, I love that quote. I definitely feel that one's passion can be one's profession. I mean, which is why I am doing this. Um, I think there cannot be a more meaningful profession than when you work for your passion, because every day you are finding meaning in your work, you're finding joy in your work, and I don't know. I think it's the key to getting that ultimate happiness, because everyone, all of us will end up working every single day for a very long time. And if you're working in a job, or if you're working for something that doesn't make you happy, you don't find any meaning, and you're just waiting for the weekend to come, I think that's a very sad way to, you know, go about your lives. And when you find that work that really lights you up, that really motivates you, and you find meaning in doing that every single day, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like playing, and it feels like living a life full of purpose. So I
Yeah,
think,
I
yeah,
love that. I love what you said, really. What are your future plans? Are you going to go full time with your business, leaving the 9 to 5?
I haven't really thought about it much. Like I haven't come to any conclusion as such, but currently I am balancing both. So I'm just trying to, see how this pans out. I definitely want to take it full time, but yeah, let's see. I'm just kind of seeing how things pan out for now.
I wish you all the best for your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yes,
the last question was the perfect conclusion to this interview.
absolutely.